Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Simply Nerdy. I'm your host, Steven. I'm joined today by Anthony.
Yo, everyone.
The originators of Simply Nerdy, way back in the day. Can you believe that was 7 years ago? This last month, 7 years.
Wow.
Dang.
Time flies.
But so we're going to be talking about Hyrule Warriors, Age of Impressions, Age of Imprisonment. Anthony, what you do to me?
My dad jokes. They have
Dad jokes
affected you.
Huge surprise for me. I haven't played a Hyrule Warriors game since Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition because Age of Calamity offended me so bad that it faked me out. It said it was going to be the prequel to Breath of the Wild, which is one of my favorite Zelda games of all time. And then it turned out to be like an alternative storyline that I said, no. I played the demo, and that's as far as I got. I was like, nope, not buying this anymore. So this one has been a real treat for me, not only because Nintendo has come out and said this is canon, which was definitely a huge part of it. Yes. But also they marketed it correctly. So I guess those kind of go hand in hand. But huge surprise. Like the performance of this game is definitely impressive. I've been very impressed with the mechanics of the game and the way it all flows. I've been a huge fan of the story. Has kind of blown me away. I'm just going through my rapid thoughts here. But Anthony, where do you want to start, man? Where should we start with this thing?
Well, I'm going to kind of start in a similar spot that you did and kind of do a quick comparison between Age of Imprisonment and Age of Calamity.
I can't help you there. You go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of have. So Age of Calamity, I had a very similar initial reaction to Steven. Basically, I was like, oh my gosh, that is such a cool idea, telling this story, from like we actually get to experience it. And it would be so cool to play this, this representation of the things leading up to Breath of the Wild and then play Breath of the Wild right after and just kind of have the full context. And so when I realized, shortly before it came out that it wasn't canon, I got serious whiplash. I was like, oh, well, okay, well, this is dead to me now then, because like, what's the point? And I ended up softening enough to pick up the game. I still feel like it was a huge misstep on Nintendo's part. And, I kind of have the way I look at Age of Calamity is it's a game that somehow manages to be surprisingly fun, even though it has some rather glaring warts all over its face. I'm sorry, but it has a lot of blemishes. There's a lot of major flaws with Age of Calamity. And the biggest one, Stephen already talked about, is that the story just failed to deliver. They didn't even need, it wasn't hard. They didn't even need to do anything more than just kind of flesh out the story they'd already told. But instead they're like, I don't know, it just felt like kind of a little bit of a cowardly move. Like, oh, but people will be so depressed to play a game where you lose in the end. It's like, no.
That's the story I wanted.
That's the one we wanted. That's the one we thought you were going to give us. And by the way, if we when you were in multiplayer. Now, again, like that goes a long way to show you how engaging its premise otherwise was, because it was fun enough for me to keep coming back. I didn't beat it because, again, I got to the point where I diverged and was like, now I don't care anymore. Age of Calamity was a very smart premise that just failed to deliver in my mind, but it was a fun little romp, if you will. So with that as kind of the background for my thoughts with Age of Imprisonment, let's just now that you have all of that, I'll just say Age of Imprisonment is everything that Age of Calamity should have been. So the biggest thing, first of all, is Nintendo clearly learned the lesson, because when they took pains to note that it was canon. Um, now, hopefully, that doesn't mean that we'll see some things where like, oh, you canonized that. You know, maybe they'll make some weird choices still, but
Yes.
But at the same time, you know, what we know is okay. Well, if this is canon, then that means it's at least going to end up lining up with Tears of the Kingdom, unlike what Age of Calamity did with Breath of the Wild. So, here's my thoughts of Age of Imprisonment. First of all, performance is like night and day difference compared to Age of Calamity. It's from what I can tell, basically a solid 60 frames per second in single player, and it is smooth. Oh my gosh, and it's really flashy. There's moments where I'm like,
it is
that was just pure, like Musu fodder. You're just trying to make it look flashy so that I can get the brain happies. But it worked. It worked.
Eye candy everywhere. Awesome.
They did a really good job, and I'm honestly really impressed. Musu games, just by their nature, they have a lot of things going on screen. That's kind of the entire point. And so, for them to make it look so much better and still run really well is impressive. I haven't played it in the multiplayer yet, and the reason why is that Age of Calamity convinced my wife that she is not a Warriors fan, so I'm I'm playing Age of Imprisonment by myself, which is it's fun. It's fun.
I have played it in multiplayer several times with my daughter, my oldest daughter, and I'm proud to say solid 30 frames a second. Yes, it drops to 30, but it's not a slideshow by any stretch of the imagination. It's a very steady 30.
Well, and honestly, so I'm glad to hear that from directly from you. That's what I'd heard reported. And honestly, sure, taking the frame rate hit is a little sad, but at the same time, I would have been shocked if they didn't have to do that. So because you're doubling the action of a game that's already action heavy.
With lots of flash sheets, lots of
flashes, and then also we're not just talking like special effects. We're also talking about literally hundreds of controlled computer controlled monsters.
Yep,
like that's gonna put a strain on resources.
Oh yes.
Anyway, so the way I look at it is 30 frames per second, just solid. In general, that's I couldn't be happier. I don't know who I'll play it with, but and I am. I guess I'll play it with Steve. Yeah,
you can do it with game chat.
That's true.
We haven't tried that. So sorry, guys, we haven't tried that yet. But we will. We will now. That I know Anthony needs someone to play with. Something I wanted to throw out there with performance. I don't know if you were going to move on yet or not.
No, I was basically just concluding that frame per second solid is incredible. I think that's a really cool accomplishment.
I agree. Yeah, and I don't really look down on that at all.
Yeah.
Something I wish the performance was better on are the cutscenes. Some of the cutscenes can dip in frame rates here and there.
I have noticed that. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to finish by saying it bugs me a little bit, but they're cutscenes, so it's okay, I guess. I'm okay with it. But at the same time, I wish it was a little bit smoother. But overall, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the funny thing about those moments is I've seen those moments often enough that I know what you're talking about. But at the same time, the way that it kind of occurs almost leaves me wondering: is that really frame dropping though? Because
oh really?
Well, let me put it this way: when the first time you watched K-pop Demon Hunters,
yes.
Like you probably looked at it like, well, dang, that's choppy, but no, that's just how they animated it. You know what I'm saying?
That's also true. Yes.
Now, I don't feel like the choppy moments in the cutscenes are consistent enough that that's necessarily what's going on, but it's minor enough that I legitimately walk away being like, maybe that happened. I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I
so
get what you're
yeah.
saying.
Anyway, it's not egregious. It's more just like And sometimes, I guess another thing I'll say, the reason why that I'm not even entirely sure that it's like actual choppiness is that not everything is being choppy. I feel like y'all notice what appears to be choppiness with the way the characters are moving, but the backgrounds and everything else, like if it were true frame drops, I would expect it to affect the entire scene. You know what I'm saying?
True. Yeah, it's true.
So
we're not sure what's happening there. That's weird.
It's a very minor thing. It is a little distracting sometimes, but it's rare. And
yes,
honestly, I think that's a perfect segue into another one of the things that I think they just knocked it out of the park for in this game. The vocal performances.
Oh man!
Holy cow!
Voice acting in this game is crazy, and it's going along the same lines as the story. Like the story and the voice acting in this game are incredible. And you and I had a conversation about this, about like the story and how good of a storytellers these developers have become.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to say some things about that too. But I do have to say, I think for me the biggest thing I've noticed is just the quality of the voice acting. Like they've been doing voice acting for Zelda ever since Breath of the Wild, but I think a lot of people would agree that the quality is not necessarily the best, at least in those initial performances. And I think of some of the performances in Age of Calamity, for example, and I just feel like the characters are more like caricatures. Rivali is always full of himself. It doesn't matter the context. And Daruk is always plucky and always ready for a backslap, no matter what's happening. Mifa is always soft-spoken and always uses the same tone of voice. And I'm a little bit generalizing here, but they felt like archetypes rather than like believable characters to me, the way that they were voiced. And that was, I feel like, that was true in Breath of the Wild as well, but Age of Calamity put the spotlight on them, and so they could get away with less of that. You know what I'm saying? Because there was more of it. Anyway, Age of Imprisonment, like they I don't know what they did. They hired some top talent. They also, I think that the voice actress for Zelda in English is still the same person.
Yep.
But her performance is really good in this one. Like
I agree.
Her emotional range, the way the things that she can represent, is more believable than I think it's ever been in any of the other ones. And I don't think that's something against her talent in those earlier games. I just don't think that was a priority back then.
Mm-hmm. No, I think she's been an incredible Zelda for all 3 games. I guess 4 games with the Age of Calamity, but anyway, I totally agree.
Yeah, all I know is there's moments in this one, and it's not just the voice acting; it's also the writing. Like the way that some of the scenes are written, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was really good writing. That really fleshed out that character. It created a sense of world and also a sense of community, and it's like shaping out the world in a really believable way. And also that felt like a very human interaction, for lack of a better word. And just some of the characters too that I was honestly expecting to end up being archetypes again, like the Rito leader. I was expecting him to be Rivali 1.0, 10,000 years removed, or however long in the past it is.
Yeah, however ancient this is ancient.
Right. Yeah. But he's actually a really likable character, and
I love him. I love him.
Yeah, he's really well voiced. He's kind of got a depth of character, but he's also kind of snarky. Like it's a lot more believable of a representation of the type of character that Rivali was. Whereas Rivali is just like if I open my mouth, snark will come out. Always, forever.
So full of himself.
So anyway, I don't know. Characterization is really fun. I mean, heck, the Korok guy. I was expecting to hate him, but he's kind of one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, I thought he'd be super annoying, or he'd have a really high voice or something. And I really don't dislike any of these characters. I've been loving all of their character development, and like you said, all the writing for them. I love the way they sound. I connect with them on an emotional level, and it's like, wow. And I don't even realize it's happening because it's so natural. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was happening until you said, "Oh, look at these characters," and you connect with them. Oh my gosh, you're right. That's why it's been so natural for me. Anyway,
yeah.
I continue.
I was going to throw one more thing in about the characterization, is that I also really like that for a lot of these characters, they're essentially establishing them for the first time. You know, when someone like makes a really good first movie, and they're like, "Ooh, that was so successful. Let's make another one." And then they do, but then all the characters are just kind of, almost walking billboards for their own shows, and they're not actually really believable, good characters anymore.
Happens all the time.
You know, all the time.
Yes.
That's all of the characters in this game so far, you know, with the exception, I guess, of Raru and Zelda and Sonia. Though even then they did a really good job with those.
Yes. Yes.
Well, you know, like, these are characters we've never seen before, and I'm already really liking how they're fleshing them out. Like Typhon, the guy with the bell shield. At first I was like, who's this weirdo? You know, it's just some guy that we train with. And then he just got cooler and cooler, and now he's like playable, and I'm just like, this guy's cool. And then also Kuino, I don't know how you ever say his name.
I don't either.
If I say it quickly, it's Queen O, and that sounds funny. It's a dude. But I like him as well. I think that they've got some fun representations there.
Yeah, they were fun surprises. I had no idea they would be playable later, and all of a sudden it was like, playable. Like, whoa! And then I play them, and they feel so good. Wow! And then they're cool characters to boot. Like, wow.
One that really surprised me, and I think really sold me on just this idea of, wow, they're just fleshing out this world with characters that are just people who lived there. They don't have to be like this mystical, you know, legendary figure to have a meaningful part in the story. So a mission I did recently, just you rescue this Zora dude, and we've never seen him before. He's just kind of this Zora swordsman, and you know, through the course of the mission, you kind of reignite his passion to fight back, and he's like apparently this sword fighting prodigy, and he's just like flipping dope. I don't know. It's just it's really cool.
That's awesome.
Okay, we also have to talk about the elephant in the room, the link construct.
Oh, this guy.
That guy. Okay, so I'm kind of happy that I guess I unintentionally went in a little blind, and I was pretty surprised by this twist. You know, in some ways, you could almost just look at it and say, oh, you know, it's just a way for them to get Link gameplay in a Zelda game. You know, it's you know, blah blah. It's just a cash grab, but it doesn't feel that way to me. It feels like, even though I have no idea where they're going with it, it's this huge question mark, and the lore that they've tied into this mysterious construct, and what it means for the world at that time, and like what its motivations are. Man, I'm just eating it up. I'm like, wow, this is an enormous like context reveal that I'm stoked to find out what it becomes.
And don't worry, we're not going to spoil it here if you already know. But
I haven't gotten far enough to know.
Neither have I. But I know what you're talking about, and it's really cool. The context it gives, and I too at first thought it was like it's a way to get Link in there and blah 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 blah. I thought that at first too, but not anymore.
No, they're doing something interesting.
Very good way. They're doing something interesting with it, and I cannot wait to see where it goes.
Same.
So pumped.
Same.
Not to mention, it's so much fun to play as a construct.
Yeah,
so fun. Anyway,
they all are though. Honestly, I'm really surprised.
I thought for sure this would be my favorite. I thought for sure I'd never want to play as Zelda. But man,
Zelda's cool.
Zelda is so cool.
Especially, did you unlock her multiple time power thing yet?
Yes, I have.
Dude.
And
when I did that for the first time, when I first did that the first time in battle, I was like, oh my gosh, they're just giving me all the like. That was just a moment where it's like they know that I'm a huge Tears of the Kingdom fan, and they just made me really, 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 really happy.
Yeah, no, seriously, Zelda made me so happy. I thought for sure they'd make her play, and I think I said this somewhere in our channel somewhere, but I thought they'd make her more like Echoes of Wisdom, where she'd like use different things as weapons and stuff. And I was like, oh, I really hope they give her a sword. I really hope they give her something, some kind of weapon, because I don't know how I'd feel about that. And then they did. And I was like, what? And then it plays like anytime Zelda's on the field, I'm Zelda.
she's one of my favorites to play as.
Even when Construct is there, I'm like, Zelda. I think I want to be Zelda.
Yeah,
it's like she's so fun. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's. I fully agree though, and honestly, again, the thing that's surprising to me is that so the gameplay is built around some really intelligent like character swapping mid battle to create some synergies that are really fun. But
yes,
I'm just honestly surprised at how often I want to do it, even if it's not part of the mechanics.
Yes, it's true. Like, I thought I never want to switch away from Zelda, but I find myself wanting to do it whenever I'm prompted because I love playing as every character. How do they do that?
They made them well fleshed out and with good mechanics. I don't know. I feel like with some of the previous Hyrule Warriors games, they created a style of gameplay that was almost too comical. Like the playing as the great fairies. I mean, heavens, how can you take yourself seriously? I couldn't do that. I couldn't even take it seriously. I'm like, this is taking me out of the game. Anyway, no, I just think that they've done a really good job fleshing out the characters and making everyone interesting in their own right. And also to throw another bone for Zelda, one of her finisher moves is probably one of the most hype things I've ever seen. It's I don't know, maybe it's not a finisher, maybe it's one of the special, like the A button.
It must be a special, yeah, it must be an A button.
But she holds her sword for a moment and like concentrates and then just basically nukes the monsters, and it's like like just this
move.
Enormous explosion that is I don't know how they did it, but the eye candy combined with the really good sound design, every time I'm just like,
and combined with the rumble in the controller,
because
that's something I was right before recording. I was like, I need to talk about HD Rumble 2 because wow, when I do that as Zelda, it feels so cool when she's focusing. Like you feel a little bit of rumble. Then when she waves that sword up and the explosion happens, your controller just goes crazy, and you're like, woo! It's awesome. Anyway, cool. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So they've done a really good job there. Mechanically speaking, it plays in a lot of ways pretty similarly to Age of Calamity. They basically replaced the runes with the unique abilities and the Zonai
devices. Yeah.
Devices. I think that's actually a really fun way to kind of make it feel more in world, connected to Tears of the Kingdom, but also I feel like they've given them some more interesting applications. That it's really, really satisfying to be able to use one of your unique abilities to counter an enemy's strong attack or something like that. So I found that really fun. I think my favorite thing is the sync strikes.
Yeah,
those are really fun to pull off. They're really hype. Yes. And they kind of make you think about how you approach battles differently, because instead of just sending each character off to do their own thing, sometimes you're just like, well, okay, I'm going to be able to potentially do this faster if I make sure that there's at least one pair working together, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I find I approach battles way differently this time around.
Mm-hmm.
And it also incentivizes you to switch characters, which is also pretty fun.
I really like it when an enemy is about to use its special move and then someone says, "Hey, switch to me," so that because they have one ready. Those are really fun to pull off.
And they're so nice because I'm like, R, and I don't have any abilities I can use to counter the enemy's attack. I'm like, oh crap! And then I see, oh, a character's calling, yay! Save me!
Yeah,
Pretty awesome.
Fun.
Anyway, that's all we'll talk about mechanically, but just to say, this game it's the best Hyrule Warriors game to date, mechanically.
I would definitely
probably in all of these categories we've been talking about. This is like the best Hyrule Warriors game to date. So now let's get into the story, Anth. Sorry, now we can go story.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, we probably can't say a ton here because we're trying to not be spoilery, but
yes, impressions, high level
impressions. I have again been very pleasantly surprised. There's been some moments that I've really enjoyed where it's like, oh my gosh, that is a scene for scene cut from something that they showed in Tears of the Kingdom. Yes. And like, it's really cool because in those moments you're like, oh wow, now I have the context, more of the context. That's really cool feeling, but then at the same time they masterfully weave in extra details that those memories in Tears of the Kingdom didn't show us. Yes. I think without spoiling anything, I'll say that the mysterious construct is probably Exhibit A in that regard, and that's all I'm going to say. But there have just been some deeper lore elements that we've never seen before that seem to have just an insane amount of meaning. Like not only for the future that we already experienced in Tears of the Kingdom, but maybe some of the context of times that are ancient, even with respect to Raru's time period. And stuff that led up to where they were at. Like there's some incredibly fascinating implications. Like there's just you look at it like, holy crap, that feels huge. And it's really fun. It's been really fun for me. Also, the way that they presented the war, both mechanically as well as narratively, makes it feel so real.
Oh yeah,
because I remember before, in Tears of the Kingdom, the way they presented the imprisoning war, they only showed us bits and pieces, and mostly
they hardly showed us anything.
Right.
Now that I've been playing this game,
right? Yeah. Mostly it was just from the perspective of the sages, and when they were on there doing their final confrontation with Ganondorf. But there's a mountain of context, and the way that they present it just feels so visceral. It's like very convincing.
Even to the way that the map interacts. Because sometimes you'll take a territory and then it'll be under siege and it'll be blinking, and it's like you need to defend this area within the next 4 battles or this is going to overturn. You're like, oh my gosh, like the whole land feels alive, and every action in every battle you start has consequences. And pushes and pulls, and it's like, wow, what is going on? It really feels like a war zone. It feels like I'm playing Risk.
Well, and they also do a really good job of selling that by the way that they fleshed out the flavor text, if you will. Like there's just been some moments, in some cutscenes after a big battle where it shows a lot of the grunt soldiers kind of licking their wounds, if you will, and helping each other out and stuff like that. And most of the time you'd kind of expect that to be represented with just kind of this low rumble of conversation that's indistinct, and like you don't really focus on that. But there's just been a couple moments when you can actually hear what they're saying, and it really kind of adds this context, like this scene when how can I help, or where does it hurt, and like it's just this perfect, like it doesn't seem like it should be such a big deal, and yet the way that it adds to the larger, more important conversation that's being had by the main characters.
Yes.
But in a way that's not overpowering. It's not like interrupting the conversation. You hear it going on in the background, but it just it creates this feel of like, wow, this isn't just a bunch of people being like, like professional quality.
This is Zelda movie 0.
Yeah,
I know we're getting a live action Legend of Zelda. This is a Zelda movie.
It's like a really good teaser. I came away from it being like, wow, I feel a lot better about the movie now that I see what they're bringing to this game. You know.
Yes. Oh my word! I can't wait. I can't wait. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we've exhausted our thoughts about this game so far. But don't worry, there will be a review coming soon. But my goodness, we cannot stop gushing about this game because it's so good. And in our opinion, it's the best one, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The best Hyrule Warriors. If you're going to play any one of them, play this one. And best part, well, maybe not the best part. There's tons of good things about this game, but the best part is it's canon.
Well, no, that is the best part. That is. Because all of this conversation we've had about characterization and narrative strength and all of that would not mean a whiff of, you know, a stinky fart if it was just you know, if it was all just, oh, you know, this is an alternate universe and now you can't really care about anyone because none of it actually means anything.
Great. Wonderful. I'm just kidding.
No, that is the biggest reason that I am this positive about it. But there's a lot of other reasons too. That's just definitely reason number one for me.
It's the big one for me as well. Anyway, guys, if you liked our rambling, then why don't you go ahead and attack that subscribe button and give us a like and ring the notification bell so you're notified whenever we have another video or whenever we have our eventual review of this game.
Okay.
Until next time, guys,
keep
it nerdy.
Just add in like a clip of one of those moments from the game.